Hi there guys, Octavian here, coming at you with episode 3 of my series Challenger Casts, the series in which I take Challenger replays off of LoL King and, well, shoutcast over them. Some people have asked me for higher level gameplay to watch while I talk about it, and this is my way of delivering. In this particular game, we have some very interesting names. We have KT Smurf, who's a Challenger level player who's seen a lot of play recently. I'm actually not entirely sure if that is someone Smurf or if that's just his name. Dabox in the mid lane plays a lot of Viger, and once more he is on the little purple evil dude, so we're gonna get to see his masterful play. We've got a bunch of other big names here. You'll see them as the game goes on, so this promises to be quite an interesting game to watch. Let's get right into it. We have Ariana Levada sitting in the top lane, and that's going to be a Lissandra versus an Aurelia top lane, whereas in middle lane we have the Viger, which of course I mentioned earlier, as well as Jace, which is actually an interesting matchup to talk about, because Viger's ult does scale off of the enemy's AP, as well as his own. It scales a good chunk off of their AP, actually, so the more magic damage the enemy has, the more damage Viger is going to be dealing to them, and that's actually not really a problem for Jace. Jace is quite a good counter pick, I would say, against a Viger. He has the ability to farm from a range as well as harass, which is quite useful against Viger, and he also will not be vulnerable to that extra damage which Viger or Viger or Vigar or whatever it is you want to say. I'm probably going to alternate between multiple of them in this game, so please don't get annoyed at me, but he won't be vulnerable to that extra damage, so that is going to be making it a little bit harder for Dabox to really bring him down in lane. But he does have the curling Viger skin, so I don't know, I don't see how he can really lose with such a fabulous skin. Down in bottom lane we have Fishing for Earth playing on Jinx rather than his usual, which would be the Fizz, so going to be seeing him on a little bit less of a comfort pick, but still going to be interesting to watch him play that Jinx. And we have Duosec next to him, Satan on the Leona, and they're going to be facing off against a Thresh and a Lucian, which is a very, very common lane, I find. I've casted that lane comp probably a good few dozen times now between the two series that I've been running. And there is Creative going in on the Lucian. Gringay coming in as well to try and make something happen here. The Ignite has been dropped on the Jinx already. She dodges very nicely to the side away from the hook, though. The heal is popped from both sides. Flash forward. First Blood going to be going over to Creative on that Lucian. Is now Duosec is forced to run away with her cape between her legs. First Blood going over to Purple Team, giving them a small gold lead of about 500 or 600 now. That's 3 minutes into the game. The matchup which we have not gone so far into depth yet is this top lane matchup, which it seems actually is being won by the Aurelia. She dashes forward, stuns Ariana Levada, and does some good damage. Lovada, I'm a little bit confused as the pronunciation there. Odd Orange going into the ball form does knock up Usopp the Brave, and he's going to be flashing forward to chase after him, and KT Smurf is going to finish off that kill. That is evening up the kill score now between both teams. Blue team having one, purple team having one. As back up in the top lane, Pause is going in onto Ariana again, using Equilibrium Strike to stun up that Lissandra, hold her in place for a few more auto attacks. Something which we should certainly take note of here, that First Blood did give the Lucian enough gold to pick up a pickaxe down in the bottom lane. That is going to be a big deal. That is a lot of AD that this Lucian is going to be having over Jinx. She still is only sitting on her Doran's Blade, having opted actually not to pick up any other items with her rather forced back. But we're up in top lane again, where the Lissandra's in a little bit of trouble. Does get helped by Usopp the Brave, though, but Odd Orange is here too, and this is both junglers and top laners now in the lane. The taunt coming back onto Usopp the Brave. He's gotten down to about half health here, actually. This Rammus is doing some good work. The turnaround with the Q from both junglers does absolutely nothing as they both hit minions. Ooh, there's the hook, landing on a Duosec down in the bottom lane. Flay followed up as well. He's getting taken down pretty low. He's at about half health here. Even if he does escape, this is a very nice trade for Purple Team. Taking about 3/4 of the Leona's health away for essentially just a few minor cooldowns. Now Pause is again going in, and Odd Orange and Usopp are both up here as well. The taunt landing onto Ariana. She is going down very, very low. The ward dropped into the bush to keep vision, and finally Rammus picks up that kill as now Pause manages to sidestep the Sonic Wave from Usopp. He safeguards away to a minion just in time. Can he survive here? Odd Orange does not want to go under the tower to finish that off. And Usopp manages to escape with just about 60 health left. Fishing for Earth now down in the bottom lane, fishing for a hook from Grigne, and he doesn't manage to pick it up. Usopp the Brave is still in trouble up here in the top lane. Odd Orange and Pause, though, are in some trouble of their own. There's been a teleport from the Lysandra, and that is the kill going over to Lee Sin. Rammus falling over. This has not been a very nice game so far for Odd Orange. He has died twice in that jungle. He did manage to get the kill up in top lane fairly recently, but he stuck around a little bit too long. The teleport from Lysandra sealed his doom. He gave the kill over to Lee Sin. There's the hook flying wide between both members of the enemy team down in the bottom lane. Field goal for Thresh here. They're going to keep pushing with the minions, though. It's perfectly fine that they missed that hook. There's a little bit of pressure gone, but really they know that the jungler was just top, though he is on his way down bottom, and I would not be surprised to see a gank here from Usopp. Which is probably why Lucian just dropped some wards down in that bush there, and some good coverage came out from Thresh as well. Hook flying in and hitting a minion. At least it didn't completely whiff this time. It's going to be some of the cooldown refresh since it did hit something. As the ward in the bush spots out Usopp. He walked all the way up the lane here trying to get this gank to happen, but it looks like it's all going to be in vain. Very well-placed ward from Lucian is going to be spotting that one out, and they're going to back way up. Usopp, of course, noticing that they are wandering that far away from the minion wave, deduces that they probably have some vision and did see him coming, and there is Duosec going in, trying to make this play happen, but he gets flayed back into the turret. The Ignite is burning. There's an auto attack from Creative with the Lightslinger passive. Gonna be bringing him down so low that the Ignite finishes off the kill. Fishing for Earth, flashes forward. The Rocket picks up the kill into Lucian, but double kill for Thresh. That was an explosive fight down in bottom lane as we have some action up in top. The Event Horizon going to be locking up Lysandra long enough for Viger, who roamed all the way up here to pick up that kill. Dabox getting his first kill of the game on this Vigar. Viger. Little purple demon man dude of bad magic wizardry. That is what he's named now. It's a very long name, but we'll just avoid saying it. We'll call him Dabox. Ooh, nice stun landing onto Smurf. The Dark Matter falling in and doing some good damage as well, but Smurf is turning back around. He wants this fight now that he knows that Event Horizon is down, and he chunks away half of Dabox's hit points. This is well traded by Smurf, realizing as soon as he got outside of the tower range that he could very easily take that fight, considering that Dabox no longer had an Event Horizon to stun him up with, as the Enhanced Shock Blast connects as well, and he's trapped inside the purple box. He leaps in, but the turnaround Ignite and the ulti is going to do so much damage. Smurf is burning from the Ignite, but he manages, with his own Ignite, to bring down Dabox. And that is a 1-for-0 trade going over to Smurf in the middle lane. This Jace is working out very well for him. That ult would have done a lot more damage had he been some sort of wizard or mage in the middle lane, but instead he was the Rocket Hammer Man from the future. And so he is not affected by the magic damage portion of Viger's ult, and he survived the trade. Hook flying out, lands onto Duosec. He doesn't have any follow-up though, so there's just going to be a little bit of harass going from Thresh to Leona there, and we have a moment to look at some of the builds. Nothing really too crazy coming out from any of the players so far. We've actually got very similar builds across the board from both sides. Odd Orange is getting kicked over the wall. The taunt and the ultimate are both running. Usopp is trying to finish off this kill. He flashes over the wall. The Q doesn't quite land though, and Orange might be able to escape here. He's in the super speed mode, and he's running away towards his ally. Dabox is now there along with Thresh, and they're going to be chasing this Lee Sin back into his jungle, all while Directed Camera decided that top lane is better to focus on, where they are farming. Thank you, Directed Camera. One of these days I gotta get me a cameraman. There is the stun landing onto Usopp, and the damage from Dabox is real. They hunted him down in his jungle like some sort of animal. Vaz now chasing through the river. Glacial Path gonna take Ariana to safety across the wall, though not quite safe enough. Actually, it is indeed. The Thresh hook flying a little bit wide there as they're gonna turn their sights onto the blue buff. Jace Shock Blasts to get some vision, but I really don't think that he's gonna be able to steal this one unless he can pull off a very well-timed Shock Blast. Oh, the Event Horizon catches him though. He's stunned up, but he does manage to walk away. He's pulled out those Mercury Treads already. He knows exactly what he's playing against. He knows exactly how to counter out a Viger. He's gone with the Jace pickup in lane. He's gone with the Mercury's Treads early in the game to stop up that stun from holding him in place for a while. He's going to be doing quite well. Pause now. Getting in onto Ariana here, trying to make some more damage happen, but all of his cooldowns have already been used. Equilibrium Strike going to be slowing up again. Dabox, can you get in range for the stun? Can't quite make it there. There, finally, under the tower. Does manage to do the damage he needs to. then he's gone a little bit too far at that point, and Lee Sin's able to clean up the kill immediately thereafter. We are 10 minutes or so into this game. There's 5 kills on blue, 7 on purple, and the gold discrepancy is barely even there. It's only 600 or 700 or so in favor of purple team. And you know what? We haven't really had a chance to look at comps or what the late game could look like if this game does indeed flow all the way into 30 or 40 minutes into this game. We have a Viger on the side of purple team, which means that their late game is going to be powerful. Despite the fact that Lucian's not really a hyper carry as the game goes on and on. I mean, he's certainly strong. He's an AD carry. All AD carries are. That's kind of part of the role. But Viger infinitely scales. He can become more and more powerful no matter how long the game goes. And there is KT Smurf coming down from the mid lane. The Solar Flare going to be landing on the creative. The exhaust dropped on him as well. He's not doing very much damage in this fight. KT Smurf manages to escape with barely any hit points left. As now Duosek is on the retreat as well. The Fishing for Earth shows up to do some damage. There's the taunt landing on the Duosek, and he does fall in the end as now the hook lands on the Fishing for Earth, and a Jinx caught among 3 members of the enemy team is not exactly where a Jinx wants to be. Lucian picks up the double kill as Viger comes around the corner to finish off Jace as he tries to escape. Up in top lane, we have a little gank, though, coming out from Usopp the Brave. He lands the Q, he follows it up with a safeguard to his friend, then kicks the Aurelia away, and in one of the cleanest Lee Sin combos I've seen in quite a while, Usopp the Brave secures the kill onto Aurelia. However, Dragon is falling to purple team on the other side of the map. As is a pink ward. This is the true objective right there. 30 gold, going to Dabox. That is going to be an unstoppable Viger now. Speaking of Viger, he's got them boots of mobility. Now that is an interesting pickup. Dabox is quite an experienced Viger player, so I will trust his judgment on those. I very often see Vigers go with Sorcerer's Shoes. It's pretty much standard fare on most AP mages because the magic penetration is very, very valuable. But because Viger does scale so hard into the late game, he gets free AP off of his Q stacking, by the way, for those of you not aware. He's much like Nasus. Whenever he kills a minion, monster, champion, anything, with his Q, it gets stacks. The more stacks he has, the more raw AP he gets, which then, of course, translates into damage off of all of his spells, aside from Event Horizon, which is simply a stun. So perhaps he doesn't need the extra damage that would be afforded by a Sorcerer's Shoes, and the boots of mobility just allow him to get in next to people more easily and make that damage happen. But Paz now is very much the target of a gank. However, she's doing a good job of dodging around this Aurelia, dodging to minions, providing a lot of, well, fun here for KT Smurf. He's dipping and dodging around, chasing after her, does eventually finish off the kill, while meanwhile in mid lane, Dabox is in a 1v1 with Jinx, and in most AD carry to Viger 1v1s, Viger comes out ahead, but in the end is not really a 1v1. Leona is there to show up and finish off the kill, as now Usopp the Brave is trying to engage in onto Odd Orange, but he's very, very quick, and he manages to roll away. Going after the pink ward immediately after doing so. No reason not to dig that out. They're going to go for the secondary turret in the middle lane as well. Suddenly, turrets are under fire all across the map. Lucian's pushing down in the bottom lane. We have Usopp, Duosek, and Smurf all in the middle lane going after that one. Meanwhile, up top, Lissandra's pushing the wave out herself, going for that primary turret in the top lane. So suddenly, there's a lot of demolition and destruction work happening across Summoner's Rift. And we end up with 2 turrets going over to blue team, 1 going to purple team. And Usopp the Brave coming out in the jungle right next to Paz. There's the Crippled Tempest slowing up. This Aurelia turns around with the Equilibrium Strike for the stun. Ward hops right next to her. There's the Q, but the flash is not quite well timed enough to do the correct combo as Dabox now dropping the Event Horizon onto KT Smurf very nicely, but those Mercury Treads are coming in handy once more. He gets out of the stun before Dabox can make a clean escape. Ignite, and another auto attack finishes off the kill. Meanwhile, Smurf, Duosek, and Usopp are taking their pushing brigade to another lane. They're going up the top lane. They're going for that secondary turret because they have the ability to do so, and why shouldn't they? As now Paz using his ult to weaken the minions a little bit, then uses Blade Surge to get to one of them, but isn't really able to follow up the chase anymore after that. Just uses the Blade Surge resets to dash around the minion wave and clean up all that CS. Something that's interesting to take note of in a lot of higher ranked play games that I see, the AD carry will often go with a blue trinket. That's not something that I see too often in lower level games where they very much like their warding trinkets, but here we already see that Lucian has picked up a blue trinket, and the advantage of that is that it allows the AD carry to check brushes from a more safe distance. A warding trinket does allow you to check brushes before you simply face check them, but sometimes the distance from which you can ward something is already far too close to the brush. The blue trinket has a much larger radius, even though it doesn't last as long as the yellow one, obviously, because the yellow one places a ward that sticks around for a while, whereas the blue one's just a short duration of vision. It allows them to check that bush from much farther away, and that is going to be very, very useful against the Lysandra or the Leona or Lee Sin. Any of those people could be sitting in the bush just waiting for a lone Lucian to come and check that bush out. As Dabox thinks that there might be somebody in that bush, but his boots of mobility are actually going to allow him to juke away from every single skill shot his way. So those boots of mobility really paying off here as we get Smurf Lovato this time, and Usopp pushing up the top lane as the hook lands onto Usopp, and he's actually getting played back in the box as well. And there's the tower aggro, but the tower falls just in time so that he stays alive. Now Paz is the one in trouble. The Q lands from Lee Sin, but he doesn't have enough time to follow it up before he falls over. Now Usopp getting ulted by the Vigar, and while his ult doesn't do very much damage to Smurf, it certainly does quite a bit to Lysandra. And now Smurf is the one in trouble. Those Mercury treads are not going to be enough to keep him alive through all of the massive amounts of CC that a Rammus and a Vigar can put out. He falls over. Lucian picking up that kill. That is 2 going to purple team after the tower falls. Sort of worth it. Not really worth it, actually. Both teams come out about even, I'd say, in terms of gold right there. Yeah, probably about even there, which is probably why the gold total is so even on that scoreboard there. Blue team has a 4-1 turret lead, but they are down by 5 kills. So overall, the gold is a little bit in favor of purple here, since they also did get that dragon much earlier on in the game. And speaking of dragon, that is going to be respawning in about 40 seconds from now. And I'm sorry, I'm just coming off the tail end of a cold, so I'm sorry if occasionally my voice sounds a little bit strange or I cough now and then. Well, I guess you won't have to forgive me, but I would very much like it if you did forgive me. I didn't really do it on purpose. I'm not trying to get sick. It's just the changing of the seasons, my friend. It comes, and sometimes it brings with it bad things, such as stuffy noses and uncontrollable coughing. Usopp the Brave hopping to a ward and bringing down another ward, using one ward to take out another. You know, I think it's time that the wards rose up in brotherhood against their Overlord champion masters. Too many of them die every game. They reveal each other only so that they may fall. Usopp the Brave coming down. Gonna be clearing out another one. We have ward deaths all over the map, and that's probably a result of dragon spawning. Suddenly, lots and lots of wards get into very dangerous situations. Duosec, speaking of dangerous situations, tosses back the solar flare to stop up Odd Orange before he can taunt him. As now Ariana Lovato is kiting back with them as well. Fishing for Earth is here, and he's trying to dodge around the walls. He just managed to survive with a heal. He was at 10 hit points after that Vigar combo. He manages to heal though and keeps himself alive as now Vigar falls over. Jinx getting that kill as, ooh, nice snipe across the team to pick up Jinx at the very backside there. Lee Sin falls immediately thereafter as now Odd Orange is going to be the next target of their ire. But he's a little bit too quick. He manages to roll himself out of trouble. Grigne now might be in some trouble. Duosec does have his boots of mobility active. The very well-timed play going to be stopping up that Zenith Blade, but it's really not going to be enough. KT Smurf going to finish off that kill as now Odd Orange is sitting in the bush, and they know it! They had a ward, and he didn't realize. Quick 1-2 punch from KT Smurf. Shock blast to the face. Brings down the spinning up Rammus. Next, they're going to head on over to the Dragon Pit. And, well, that's what started off this whole fight, so it's probably where it's going to end. They're going to go and try and take the large beastie and take its hoard of gold, if they can possibly do so. Tiger is sitting across the wall, but they don't quite get the surprise they wanted. They do drop the ward over the wall, though, just as the blue buff spawns. They're going to be going after that. Usopp the Brave going to be starting it off. Dabox would very much like to have this, but I don't think he's going to be able to get it. The Smite secures it. And actually, that means that Smite isn't up for Dragon right now, so it'd be a little bit risky for Blue Team to actually go for this, but it looks like that's what they're going to be trying to do. Rammus is rushing his way down, trying to get down there, and they probably know that the Smite is down. Dabox, I believe, did see that, but it doesn't really matter that Rammus did not get here in time. And there's the stun coming out from Dabox, but Solar Flare's immediately turned around onto him. He flashes away, but the zap and the ult from Jinx, along with a nicely placed Dragon's Rage, going to be finishing off the tiny purple evil sorcerer person. He's going to fall over. And we're going to have blue team coming out ahead in terms of gold by just about 2,000, which actually is not as much as I would have expected. Purple team is still holding on quite well to their gold. They did just lose a dragon as well as a good amount of kills, so I'm actually really not sure where that gold is coming from. Perhaps the CS lead that has built itself up down in bottom lane, as well as the small one up in top, and even indeed in the jungle there is a CS lead for this Rammus over the Lee Sin. That is another turret falling down in bottom lane, increasing the gold lead even further for blue team as Duosec is going in trying to stop them from taking this turret, but I do not think that they can really put up much of a defense here. Poon Paz is going under the tower trying to bring down Ariana, but Lysandra is very difficult to bring down in a timely fashion. She does manage to escape the turret just before the final shot kills her, but fishing for Earth is gonna be blown up by the damage from this Viger instantly. Killed his Dragon's Rage, not gonna quite finish off Dabox, but KT Smurf has that covered. He's on a rampage. Odd one. Usopp just kind of showing off there, but it might have been to his detriment, actually. He has all of his spells on cooldown now as Pause and Gringnir are showing up. There is Jace going to be falling over as Usopp the Brave goes back and hops to a ward, but he's just dancing around his grave. And they're going to go ahead and dig it for him and put him in it. Meanwhile, though, in middle lane, Creative has been continuing to push and has gotten not only the outer turret, but also the inner one, and has managed to close the turret gap at least by a little bit, as well as the gold gap by quite a bit. That is a gold lead, actually, in the hands of Purple Team, or in the case of Rammus, the pause of Purple Team, and that, I believe, is the first time in a little while where they have actually had the legitimate lead. They've been very close. They've perhaps been a few hundred in the lead, but this is the first time where it's been, well, actually, no, it's back to being just a few hundred. So this has been a very close game overall. We still have no way of telling who, in fact, is going to win, but to be fair, Purple Team probably has... I actually don't really want to say they have the better late game comp. They have a late game comp that is certainly good with Viger, and Aurelia is strong in the late game, and Lucian is certainly no slouch, and I'm sorry if you just heard that. I accidentally dropped a pen. It's no cause for alarm there, hopefully, unless you are someone from the Organization for the Ethical Treatment of Pens, if such a thing exists. KT Smurf pushing up the middle lane along with a few of his friends. Duosec, Smurf, and Usopp like to push together, I've found. They've gone and taken both towers in the middle lane and one or two of the towers in the top lane, and this time they're joined by Fishing for Earth as well as Ariana, so perhaps we'll get to see our first proper 5v5 fight. Ariana going in to try and initiate this, flashes forward, ulting onto the box, holding this Viger in place as long as she possibly can. Creative is legendary off to the side as Lysandra finally finishes off the Vigar, but this is not looking good for blue team. They tried to initiate the fight, but it completely whiffed. Solar Flare, along with Ariana just having to spend everything that she possibly could just to get right next to the Viger, amounted to a 3-for-1 trade in favor of blue. No, in favor of purple, rather. Blue was the one who lost 3. Odd Orange, no! A little bit more than he could chew. That is what he bit off. Now Ariana going to be keeping on chasing after Pause, and there is the slow as Creative leaps over the wall to chase after this Lysandra. Creative is legendary, and that has been creeping up on us out of nowhere. I didn't actually... I never mentioned how well Lucian was doing up until right now when he's legendary. Just because he's been doing it so quietly, cleaning up the kills, never really doing any hugely flashy plays, just doing well, right-clicking a lot, doing what an 80 carry do. He's 11, 1 and 3. He's got that Infinity Edge Yumu's, that wonderful pair of items that a Lucian can have to make their culling just hurt like the blazes. And KT Smurf is caught way out of position up here. Goes into Hammer Stance, gets the speed buff as well to try and keep himself alive. Leaps back in on the Gringnir. He does have the Merch Res, but it's really not going to matter. The stun wears off fairly quickly, but there's just so much damage from this Aurelia and the Viger, and Thresh is doing some as well, so that might actually be a Baron play, rather. Dragon is currently deceased. Ooh, there's the flash forward from the box. Usopp the Brave immediately falls over, and this is definitely going to be a Baron play here for Purple Team. That is the jungler gone, as well as the major threat that was KT Smurf coming out of the mid lane. He's doing quite well there on that Jace, so him being gone for at least another 10 seconds, if not a little bit longer, accounting for the time that it would take for him to get here. Flash over the wall from Pause to go in onto Ariana here. The Baron is still knocked down as the Jinx ulti flies wide. Not going to be stealing that away. The smite secure from Rammus. Going to pick up the Baron. Now Ariana is in a very bad place. Lysandra falls to pieces, quite literally. They're going to head on back to base with that purple Baron buff floating around them. Very pretty. Actually, why not? Why not pick up the red buff first? Maybe a few jungle camps. But they will head on back to base and pick up some items fairly soon. And speaking of items, we should take a look at some of the builds here, especially Dabox's Vigar build. This is always very interesting to look at. As I mentioned, he does have those boots of mobility, but he's also gone with a Void Staff and a Deathfire Grasp. I'm really not surprised at that. There's a good amount of magic resistance on the enemy team already. There's actually 2 Aegis of the Legions, one of which has been upgraded to a Locket of the Iron Solari, but there's 2 AoE magic resistance buffs on the enemy team, so having that early magic penetration is, well, not really that early. We are 25 minutes into the game. That's fairly far into the game, actually, as far as Challenger games can go, but having that moderately early magic penetration can certainly help him out against the builds which the enemy team has been bringing together. Dabox landing the ult on the Fishing for Earth, and that is going to be a ton of burst coming down onto that Jinx. Creative is legendary, picking up the final hit there as Dabox falls over to this Lee Sin. That is a 1-for-1 trade so far. Dark Passage is going to be pulling Creative to a bit of safety, but KT Smurf is around the corner there. Shutdown goal going over to the Jaces now. Green Yang going to be the target of their ire. He does manage to finish off Liliana before he falls over. I'm really not entirely sure how that happened, but Thresh does pick up that kill before falling himself, as now Usopp the Brave is going down dangerously low. He falls over as Paz picks up that kill. Now they're chasing after KT Smurf. The Hex Drinker is popped on Paz. He dashes forward. He gets the double kill. Now he's chasing after Ariana. Odd Orange is very tanky, but we might see a repeat of last time. Paz leaping in, taking the aggro and the front line here. He goes into defensive ball curl. He nearly does. He does fall over in the end. The shard brings him down as the rocket comes dangerously close to Paz, but doesn't quite connect. That was... Odd Orange is just a little bit too cocky on that Rammus when coming near Lysandra's with very low amounts of hit points. This is the second time so far, and probably the last 10 minutes that I've seen him do that, but both times the Lysandra then swiftly fell, so it at least is a 1-for-1 trade in that respect. Going to be pushing up the top lane here with a few members of Purple Team. The outer turret is still standing in this lane, and there's really not much risk for them going after this pickup. It's just basically some very, very free gold, so really are going to be taking that up for a little while, and they're going to take it out in short order. Little Purple Man taking the final hit on that. Actually going to be keeping on with this push, though. Maybe trying to catch Jace out, but the Event Horizon does not quite land. Event Horizon is a very powerful spell. It's one of the... I would actually probably say it's the most powerful non-ultimate spell in the entire game, if used correctly, because it's just got so much potential. It really does. Like, you could stun 3-4 people with that all at once if you did it right, and there is a stun landing on a KT Smurf. The Ignite and the Deathfire Grasp, though, not going to be enough, as there is Jinx falling over. Giving the kill over to Vigar. Now Paz diving under the tower, and this is the power of an Aurelia come mid or late-ish game. She can just keep on diving into your team. She doesn't care at all. She has a Baron buff. She has every buff conceivable. Gets kicked onto the fountain, though, and even an Aurelia cannot survive that. That was quite a long journey that she made, and it ended in duel. Odd Orange going into the ball, and they knocks away Usopp as he comes in off the Sonic Wave. Resonating Strike. Thresh has gone very low, but nobody's around to finish him off, and Creative is doing a lot of work. Leona falls in the end there as KT Smurf is kiting backwards and forwards. Gets hit by the hook, though. Hit by the Event Horizon. He's getting burned down. He flashes away out of the Event Horizon, but he does fall in the end. Usopp the Brave now burning down to the auto attacks from Creative, but he gets onto the fountain. There's the Light Slinger, but it's not going to be enough. And Fishing for Earth tosses out... actually tosses out the ultimate. The Super Mega Death Rocket finishes off Rammus off to the side, but Fishing for Earth actually flashes back onto the fountain. So many people coming so close to death, making me nearly lie. Usopp the Brave now trying to juke around with Creative here. There's the Q, dodge to the side. Very nice sidestep from Lucian, but you can't really sidestep Lysandra, who's right next to you. Falls in the end to a right click from Fishing for Earth. Zap comes out, doesn't land on the Paz, but the dodge to avoid the zap was enough to keep Paz in their sights for long enough that he's probably going to be going down unless something miraculous happens. Finishes off the Jinx before falling. That is a lot of damage that this Aurelia is doing. Good lord. Paz is doing a lot of work right now. Usopp really wants this kill into the box. I'm not entirely sure if he's going to get it, though. Lands, doesn't land the Q. Very nice sidestep. Turns around with the Deathfire Grasp and the ultimate. Doesn't have enough damage to bring him down, though. The Q lands. Usopp, dangerous to follow it up. Could land a Q. Oh, there he goes. Very well played by Usopp. Well, actually, I don't know about that. It was decently played by Usopp, and Viger didn't quite have enough damage to bring him down because he's got a lot of magic resist. He's got them Mercury's Treads and a completed lock of the Iron Solari, so he's fairly tanky. They're really not playing in such a way that is being very nice to Dabox here. They've got, as I said, 2 of those locks of the Iron Solari. They've got multiple magic resistance items on multiple members of their team. Got a Spectre's Cowl picked up on the Jace, as well as Mercury Treads nearly all across the board. 3 members, 3 out of 5 members. That's a majority right there. That is a technical majority. And that is going to be very difficult for Viger to deal with, especially if that Spectre's Cowl is turned into a Banshee's Veil, which is one of the other items that is really a Viger's bane. That, Mikhail's Crucible, and Mercury's Treads. Things which Viger does not wish for Christmas. At least not for the enemy team. Though perhaps doesn't wish to be given in a bag of trick-or-treats, since this is being released 2 days before Halloween? The day before Halloween? Fairly close to Halloween, so that is the more appropriate holiday analogy to make. But, you know, we should look at some of the items. We don't do that often enough. We should look at some of the items. Usopp the Brave, though, caught out in the oh, okay, he's gone, and that is the power of Lee Sin. You have a ward, you have a way of getting away. He places it over the wall and leaps away from the golem camp, but the turret does fall for his troubles. Nobody was around to defend that, and Paz lands the stun onto Smurf. The hook falls immediately thereafter, and he is in the wrong place at the wrong time, and now Paz is following up on this, chasing after Duosek off to the side, is fishing for Earth, falls to the massive damage from Viger, and an auto attack from Lucian. Now Duosek is being stun locked under his own tower, going to be falling over. Aurelia picking up that kill as Usopp the Brave really can't do much right now. Dashed in onto by Paz. The hook does not quite land, but sorry, as I mentioned, I do have a cold and it seems to be jumping at me right now. There's the hook flying a little bit wide as the kick kicks Paz over the wall. Ariana Lovato in a battle for her life. Blocking the Iron Solari, keeping them both alive a little bit longer, but there is Paz finally finishing off the kill as Hot Orange once more in a low health duel with Lysandra. This time not going to be falling over though. Double kill goes to Aurelia, and the victory goes to Purple Team. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. See you tomorrow. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you did enjoy it, go ahead and feel free to click subscribe, or if you liked it, click the button with that word on it, the like button. It helps me out. Comments, I enjoy those too. But yeah, whatever you feel like doing. I'll be here tomorrow. You can watch more videos if you want. I'll see you all then.